Hey, 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 welcome to the Attic Manadad here. It's the channel where we explore what's fun in Magic. And in the case of Meta Mondays, we're going to explore the metas in Standard and the other formats. And boy, you got to start with what happened just this morning. Banned and restricted announcement, March 31st, 2025. Hot off the presses. Standard, no changes. No changes. So you could say, oh, well, the standard meta is not going to change, but maybe people are going to feel a little more unleashed with their beans and their monstrous rages, some other cards that maybe getting an eye, we don't know. Well, let's take a look at this announcement. Pioneer, no changes. Pioneer/Explorer, we have the Arena Championship happen this weekend. We have that to talk about. Really, I guess kind of the opposite of probably what Wizards wanted with announcing no changes in Pioneer based on the results with the Arena Championship. We'll get back to that in a sec. Modern, to no one's surprise, Underworld Breach is banned. Legacy, I don't follow this that closely, but we lose Sowing Mycospawn. All you Sowing Mycospawn heads, sorry about that. And the Troll of Kaza Doom, that's a card I actually do see from time to time. Just a 6/5 that puts itself in the graveyard and gives you a swamp. The Reanimator decks love this. Essentially unblockable, can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. That's gone. I guess it was causing problems in Legacy enough that they felt they need to ban it. Lord of the Rings Common. Vintage, no changes. Pauper, losing Basking Broodscale. Kodotha Rebirth, which is interesting. It's like, what's the mono red card that makes 3 goblins that's in Standard right now? Very similar. And Deadly Dispute. And then Prophetic Prism. Interesting. And High Tide unbanned. This is a little bit surprising. I mean, I don't follow Pauper that closely, but this is kind of surprising to me. High Tide is a very powerful card. It goes back to Fallen Empires, I believe. I definitely have a lot of Fallen Empires copies of this card. I guess now's the time to sell him. Sell him into the insane Pauper demand that is surely happening with High Tide. Alchemy, no changes. Explorer, no changes. Historic, no changes. Timeless, no changes. Brawl, no changes. Now, again, no changes should be the default if you consider Banhammer is supposed to be more extreme. And yes, I am getting over a cold or some kind of thing that's been going around. I'm really excited for my youngest daughter to leave preschool next year so that I can stop getting junk from 2 different schools in the household. But hope you can stand my voice being extra sexy today. All right. So let's just scan through. I'm not going to read through this whole thing. You can check it out. Standard, essentially, they're going to consider more nuanced changes, but not until after Dragonstorm and Final Fantasy. With the release, when the rotation happens with Edge of Eternity, they might come down a little harder. So don't count your magic beans yet. Don't count your monstrous rages yet. By magic beans, I mean up the beanstalk. I don't know. Some of you might not be as familiar with the cards and getting my references. Standard was on display at Pro Tour Ether Drift, a rich and diverse metagame. The big 3 they have is Gruul Mice, Esper Pixie, Domain Overlords. I think one of the things people were thinking is, would they ban something from Pixie just because it's sort of annoying play patterns? And it was, people think, not intended to be a deck by the game designers, by the play designers. Also, Overlords has been hanging around for a while. It did take down the Pro Tour and look dominant all weekend, but since then it's seen its win rate slowly decline as the metagame adjusts. So that's something that up the beanstalk would hurt, but I'm wondering if Domain Overlords could even survive without up the beanstalk. I think it maybe could. We should maybe test that out. And so Nurturing Pixie, this town ain't big enough. They're definitely just, putting a little flag on those. So don't be surprised if those do get a ban later. In terms of Pioneer, Emberheart Challenger, Manifold Mouse, Heart Hero. Okay, so let's talk about this. Arena Championship was Explorer, which is essentially Pioneer. I think they've said like 98% of the decks on Magic Online could be played on MTG Arena, the Pioneer Magic Online metagame. So the top 8 was 6 examples of mono red aggro, which is a huge percentage just the mono red deck from standard. Emberheart Challenger, Heartfire Hero, Manifold Mouse, Screaming Nemesis. Actually, some of these were running Sunspine Links, Hired Claw, Burst Lightning, Monstrous Rage, and then Kumano faces Kazakan, which is, and the Bone Crusher Giant are kind of the throwbacks. And then you get a little bit more, in the mana base with Mutavault, and I think some of them had Ramanap. None of them had, I thought some of them had the one that makes the cavern that makes stuff. Yeah, there it is. Den of the Bugbear. So slight variations in these deck lists, but kicking myself because last week I've been sick. I didn't make it, but I had it all queued up to make a video of playing standard and Pioneer with one of these style red decks. We're looking pretty good going into this this tournament. Then rounding out the top 8, there was a Teamer Analyst, which is kind of cool. It's a Yorion deck here, using Aftermath Analyst. This is some, shenanigans people were doing in Standard not too long ago, although I think it's kind of just been overshadowed by some of the other decks. And then Is It Phoenix? Somebody keeping the Phoenix alive. Picklock Prankster has been a nice addition to that. I think some are running stock up, but I don't see it here. This is just Sleight of Hand, Treasure Cruise, Picklock Prankster, one Brazen Borrower, Into the Floodmaw. That's also relatively new card. So that is what's going on in Pioneer, which has kind of been languishing, Pioneer/Explorer. But I think, I don't know, is everybody going to be excited to rush back and play this after seeing, the mono red aggro decks just absolutely dominate? I think if you have been watching on Mondays here when we do the metagame, you would have known, at least last week, we were definitely taking a look at this deck. You would have known that was what was going on. Anyways, back to this. We're talking about Igra and Scavenger's Talent with Jund Sacrifice, Unholy Annex, Fear of Missing Out. There were some Demons decks, some Rakdos Demons decks that were just outside the top 8 there. In terms of Modern, we knew Grinding Breach with the great Jesse Robkin has pioneered to be just absolutely what Modern people are considering one of the best decks that has ever appeared in Modern. So Underworld Breach was pretty much a lock. It was going to be, the pitchforks were going to come out, I think, if it didn't get banned here. There was a question of whether some other stuff might get unbanned along with it or get banned along with it. They do say, I think at some point here, that they're keeping an eye on the Boros energy decks. If I can find it, maybe I've gone past it. They're highlighting you can play Orzhov Blink and Marauding Mako and Hollow One decks. And the stock up is showing up, and there it is. Boros energy decks, Dimmer Oculus decks, as well as Eldrazi variants, Amulus Titan, and Orzhov Blink. Those are the ones they're going to keep an eye on for the next ban season. So we'll see what gets cooked up. Legacy, Troll of Kaza, Doom, Sowing Mycospawn. If any of you are Legacy heads, please explain that. But, there was one line here that stood out to me. It's apparent to us that people who love to play Legacy do not love to play today's Legacy. So we're taking a couple steps to try and improve the format. So, player sentiment and event attendance has trended downward. Looks like these bans are trying to just softly, lightly stroke the legacy card pool to see if they can get people more excited and invigorated for legacy. But I don't follow closely with that, so this is interesting, including the like deck lists in the ban announcement. I'm here for it though. It's fun. Vintage, no changes. Pauper, they get their own article about the changes. You guys can all go read that. I would love to follow Pauper more closely. But it is a huge card pool to follow, and there's some really good content creators out there already doing Pauper stuff. But yeah, you know, go take an interest in Pauper. From all accounts, it looks fantastic, and maybe one day I will have the time as a busy dad to join you. Alchemy, bunch of stuff. Golden Sidekick, Impetuous Lootmonger, Buxton Decorated Host, Nectaman Shines Again, Trackhand Trainer, Ornate Imitations, Hymn to the Ages, Ribald Shanty. Do you say Ribald or Ribald? I think it's Ribald, right? Ribald Shanty. That's good card name. Yeah, and then Explorer. Let's see. Okay, so they're actually going through and naming the cards that are missing on Arena. Kazul's Toll Collector, Warping Whale, Battle at the Bridge. If you're wondering what's going to be in the next Explorer anthology, I bet these are on the short list here. Roast. So really, not too many. I mean, the main thing I think is the hammer decks that use the Kazul's Toll Collector. They use the hammer. Historic. They're calling out Sheltered by Ghosts and Shard Mage's Rescue. But since the format has mostly stayed the same since the last update. Timeless. Timeless could probably use a shakeup. Because Chrome Mox and Bright Glass Gear Hulk have helped push Birthing Ritual to become one of the top performers in the format. We'll take a look at the metagames for all these arena ones. And then Brawl. Apparently it's growing. Good uptake of the new commanders. 85% of all brawl matches give both players a close to 50% chance to win based on their commander choice. Huh. So is that admitting that the matchmaking algorithm has put more weight on the commander choice? That's what I wonder. So like, don't try and make a janky deck with, the high power commanders with Ragavan or Rusko or something. Anyways, let's see if anybody's commented on any of those bans before we move on. Yep. Okay. Standard meta. Here we go. Mono red aggro, #1 in win rate, followed very closely by Azorius Omniscience. If you didn't see last week, I finally got around to making a video for the Omniscience deck. I'd been avoiding it, but I think I found one that wins in a sort of a cleaner way. That's it's actually time saving. It's actually relevant if you're trying to rank up. You not only care about how often a deck wins, but how fast it wins. Boros Aura is right up here. That's interesting. This might be a sleeper here. Boros Auras and then Mono Red Goblins. I mean, pretty close here in the top 8 in terms of win rate. Mono Red Aggro still far and away the most popular deck here. Looks like it's about leveling off. Black had a little trend down. Omniscience is having a little trend up right now. Esper Self Bounce, slight trend down. Boros Aura, slight trend down, but maybe it should be up if it's winning this often. Let's take a look at Boros Auras and see what the highest win rate deck looks like. There's a 61.3% win rate deck. It's 430 matches. Average game duration under 4 minutes. Looks pretty straightforward. Just 2 Swift Spears, the full mouse package. 3 Feathers of Flight, and 2 Demonic Ruckus. And then in terms of the mana base, 3 Rockface Village, 3 Battlefield Forge, only 1 Sunbillow Verge. If it was me, I might even switch out some of these basic lands for the Sunbillow Verge. I don't know why you wouldn't. You don't. Or you just run it over plains, I guess, because you need enough basics to turn it on. But still, it's just the plains if it's not turned on. So, anyways, yeah, there's a bunch of ones here with a lot of. I guess that's the one with 200 plus matches. Let's see if there's any with 100 plus matches that win even more. Yes, there is. One with 140 matches. That's running Valgoth's Lair in the mana base. That's kind of a cool thing. Actually got tap land here with Reckless Bivouac. 3 mountains, 3 plains. Just foregoing Feather of Flight altogether, keeping Lightning Helix, so it has a little more play. Swiftblade Vindicator. Okay, so this is a cool version. This is a slightly different version than you usually see with the Swiftblade Vindicator and the Lightning Helix. Might want to play that on the channel. Drop a comment, let me know if that's a video you would watch. But you're here to see the meta. I pay for the untapped.gg stats, so you don't have to. Hashtag not sponsored. See if just looking at the top rank stuff. Well, once you get into the higher ranks, Azorius Omniscience has the better win rate. Mono red aggro is still most popular, but not as popular. Looks like people are stopping playing the mono black mid range. So I guess that helps Azorius Omniscience, because you can really have your hand ripped apart and kind of lose your combo pieces if you go up against the black decks. Okay, so let's take a look at Explora. And for these other formats, we'll just do the full ranking just because there's not as much data. Interesting to see popularity today, not Mono Red Aggro at number 3. You'd think Mono Red Aggro would be shooting way up because it looks at it. Oh, that's Rakdos Aggro shooting way up in terms of popularity. Mono red aggro on a downtrend. Well, I guess not a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon to play the number 1 deck proven by high-level players in the Arena Championship. Selesnya Auras actually, these 2 Auras decks have a really good win rate. I guess for the second week in a row, I'll talk about how I've been playing some Selesnya Death and Taxes and really enjoying it. So maybe one day make a video of that. Hard to make videos when I feel like crap. I spent half of yesterday just sleeping. I'm here for you guys right now. Okay, see what's happening in Alchemy. Number 1 deck is Azorius Flyers, followed by Selesnya Rabbits, Grixis Heist. Like Flyers is way down in popularity. Let's see what Flyers deck looks like. Even though I know most of you don't play Alchemy, maybe a few of you do. Awestruck Signet, Bird Scout, Mockingbird. Like a birds deck? Wow, okay. I think there's a birds deck. Might have to play that for Tribal Tuesday. Even Restless Anchorage is a bird. Interesting. What's the synergy with birds, though? Any of these things just buff birds, or it just happens to all be birds? I mean, that's a human, but all there is just, I guess it just all happens to be birds. I mean, look, if you want to rank up, look at this. 160 matches, 71.2% win rate. Those of you who are, and it is almost 5-minute average duration game, but those of you who are into ranking up quickly, maybe you should take a look at this, as long as you're not morally opposed to alchemy. Let's go back. Not to my profile. Jeez, come on. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. Historic. Boros Auras, far and away #1 in win rate. It's still kind of down in popularity. Looks like Elves is dropping though, and the life gain decks and the Auras decks are on the surge there in Historic. In Timeless, Mardu Energy, Boros Energy, Boros, 5-color ups all spells. I think it's supposed to be oops all spells. Orzhov, 4-color Show and Tell, 4-color. What were they talking about in that banned and restricted? I'm not seeing something with green. I'm not necessarily seeing it. That's Timeless. And in Brawl, let's see who's the #1 in popularity. Ketramos, taking it back from Bristly Bill this week. Bristly Bill had a surge. Actually looks like Ketramos was always ahead there. I thought when we looked at it last week that Bristly Bill had a little bit of a tick. But back to Ketramos. Looks like if you actually want to win, the Sab Sun Index are winning pretty well. It's not even in the top 8 in terms of popularity. So maybe we should make a Sab Sunin video. Let me know if that's of interest. All right, let's check out what the stats are on MTG Goldfish. They mostly draw from MTGO. Looks like they're calling Esper Self Bounce the main deck here in Standard, followed closely by Mono Red Prowess, and then the 4-color Zur is the Domain Overlords with Zur. Gruul Aggro, Gruul Prowess, Gruul Midrange, Golgari Midrange, Azorius Control, Jeskai Oculus, Esper Omniscience, Dimir Self Bounce, Domain, and that also has Zur. I'm not sure. That should probably just be added into the 4-color Zur. Need to do a little bit of data manipulation there. Bant Control, Azorius Omniscience, Jeskai Convoke. In terms of what's recently gone 5-0 here, Dimir Midrange, Golgari Midrange, Mono Red Prowess, Gruul Aggro, Golgari Midrange, Dimir Self-Bounce, Esper Self-Bounce. So if you're asking yourself, okay, why didn't they ban something from Standard? Because you play on Arena and you see the same decks over and over and you get beat over and over by the same cards. I think part of it is they're judging more from the data they're getting from MTGO. I think the play design team is just a bit hardwired to use MTGO data and not necessarily arena data, or not weigh arena data as much. And when you see this where it's like all different decks, then you say, okay, well, that's a very, this format looks wide open. You can win with almost anything. So it looks like Omniscience there took down a tournament. But then Jeskai Control, Gruul Aggro, pretty wide range. So that's Standard. Modern Grinding Station was #1. Well, I guarantee you it won't be next week. Boros Energy, Eldrazi Ramp, Amulet Titan, Temur Breach, Orzhov Midrange. If you want to see the stats on those, Domain Zoo, Murktide, Ruby Storm, Belcher, Mill, Murktide, Jeskai Energy, Yawgmoth, Affinity. So that is Standard Modern. Is it worth looking at Pioneer? They have Rakdos Midrange being the most popular. I'm guessing Mono Red Aggro is going to have a bit of a surge based on the results. Seems to be a good metagame play based on the results from the tournament. Visit and Soul Artifact. Love that deck. So I don't really trust Historic Explorer, Pioneer, Timeless, or Historic Explorer, Timeless, Alchemy. Let's see, Pauper, since we did talk about Burn there. So looks like Kuldotha Rebirth is getting banned out of that. Maybe the the card that is almost identical is it uncommon? So it will just, this effect will be out of Pauper now? Blanking on the name for it. You guys all know what I'm talking about, though. It's played in the Convoke decks. Grixis Affinity. So maybe Grixis Infinity. Well, I guess it loses Deadly Dispute in terms of what's banned, but it has Reckoner's Bargain. I mean, there's a million things you can substitute for Deadly Dispute. Maybe it's just making that treasure. It's too strong. Interesting. So Rumble. So is Bogles of the top 3 decks, Bogles is the one that's escaping a ban. So maybe it's going to be all about the Bogles in Pauper, but that's just speculation. As I say, I don't follow that too closely. All right, well, that is a very eventful Monday. Normally these would be a much shorter live video where we just kind of take a look at the metagame and chit chat about a few decks and be done with it. Let's go back to standard to do a little bit of deck chit chat for people who like that. But leave your comments. Again, this is a relatively new video thing that I'm doing here. So if certain things you find useful or not useful, welcome your feedback on that. See what the Mythic players are playing. So let's take a look at Mono Black Other. Is this somehow different than the other Mono Black decks? 1 cut down, 4 duress, 3 hopeless nightmare, 2 annoyance, banded talent. Okay. Aklazat's deck with Mudflat Village even and Hidden Necropolis. This kind of looks like a mono black demons deck. Some interesting amounts of cards in here. Played by Mangini, 1999. It's a fine year for Manginis. Is it prowess? Let's see what it's all about. I've actually got a budget prowess deck I want to make a video for. So you prowess players out there, it's going to have some overlap with this. This only is it in the fact that it's running 4 spell pierces. Fascinating. 61% on the play, 48% on the draw for a 56% win rate. I guess it. They went 4 and 2 with it right here. Interesting. Maybe this is some tech. Well, we'll have to see when we play our version of this deck, our budget version of this deck, how good Spell Pierce is. I think I have it in just as a one of. Maybe it deserves to have more. All right. Well, that's about all I can think to talk about today. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to the attic with me. This has been Manadad reminding you